And away we go. It is another nightcap right here on BearcatJournal.com, brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Galactic Fried Chicken. Visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com to download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. And make sure, if you get to the spot in Dayton and you're ordering, tell them to pump it up, and you get 15% off your order of Galactic Fried Chicken. All right, let's get this bad boy rolling, Aaron. I'm Chad Brendel. He's Aaron Smith. Thanks to everybody that tuned in to the BBP tonight. That was a good one. It's a long one. It's a good one. But let's Aaron has wanted to take a subsection that we talked about a little bit on the BBP tonight, because I didn't know you wanted this to be the topic for the nightcap. So I brought it up, and you were like, ooh.
That was the one.
I'm going to let you take it away and set this thing up. Let's get to it.
So ESPN came out with
the NCAA.
Well, NCAA reported it. ESPN reported. Yeah, right.
Like the NCAA released numbers, and then ESPN reported on it.
So the numbers that came out from August 2019 to July 21, only 54% of the FBS players entering the transfer portal were enrolling at a new school.
On scholarship.
Correct.
Right.
Which, that's just outrageous to me. I mean, we knew this was coming. We'd kind of talked about this without going too much into detail over the course of the last couple of years since we've been doing the podcast. But since I've been involved anyway, that we knew that this was going to become an issue. You're going to have a backlog of players where they didn't have a home because you had the COVID year, because you have redshirt, because you have
freshmen coming in,
outlying qualifiers. Right. So you were going to have people who just couldn't find a home. And now we've seen the numbers, and I think they're a bit more staggering than we even anticipated.
Not me.
I think they I don't know. I mean, I think the general public, you're
yes.
also you're very in tune.
Right. Not me. So 40%, essentially 40% of the players from Division I programs that entered the transfer portal did not find a new home, a new scholarship.
Yes.
It's a big number. 4 out of every 10 players that entered the portal found nowhere to go. Here is the missing piece that we'll never get an answer to that I want to know. How many of those kids were kids that weren't good enough somewhere, and the coaching staff, while maybe not punted them, but maybe encouraged them to enter the transfer portal? You're not going to play here, right? Like you've been battling here for 4 years. You haven't moved up the depth chart. If you're going to want to play your next 1 or 2 years, given the COVID situation, if you're going to want to play over your final 1 or 2 years of college football, it would be wise for you to probably go somewhere else and find a home. I would like to know how many of the 40% were the kids that just weren't good enough, like after 3-4 years in college, right? Like, that's the fascinating part to me.
Well, and you think about the kids that have left UC, as this pertains, to Cincinnati.
Sure.
Football, almost every guy who leaves lands. I can't remember of anybody who has left over the course of not many.
There've been a couple.
And even in basketball, when we've seen guys transfer out on basketball, pretty much everyone, the only name that I can think of in recent years is right now Rob Banks.
And I'm told he's going to find a home somewhere.
It's fascinating that we've seen the way that this has gone with Cincinnati. These are clearly talented players that are finding homes. And even the guys that aren't getting the PT here, or just it's not fitting for whatever reason, they're still finding homes because both staffs, the basketball staff and the football staff, has done such a good job bringing guys in that they're always still finding homes.
But here's the thing. Everybody focuses, because it's the splashy thing to do, everybody focuses on the guys from here transferring up to here. But nobody focuses on the waterfall. Okay? The guys from here transfer down to here.
Right.
The guys from here transfer down to here. The guys from here transfer down to, right? Like, what's left?
D2, D3.
NAIA, right? Like, and some of that is scholarship, some of that is not, some of it is partial. So there's like this hierarchy of how things go, and it makes me wonder as we go through this thing. And from what I've heard, we've seen some of this at Cincinnati, where the coaches have the honest conversation. You've been here 3 years. This is where you're at on the depth chart. You are more than welcome to stay. But it also, we're being honest with you in that if you want to play, this might not be, the exact spot for you. And the kids are going to go, I'm good. Good culture, good staff, a lot of friends. These are my boys. These are my brothers. I'm going to go ahead and get my degree. I'm going to go ahead and, ride this one out. I'm happy. And I'm not going to put myself in the portal and end up being the 40%. That's back home in, their childhood bedroom at 20 years old, 20, 21 years old, because they took a gamble that, that didn't work. Like it's a fascinating like subplot of all this, right?
Yeah.
Because
even you had during the COVID years, you had an unlimited number, looking football in particular, you had an unlimited number of roster spots. And then all of a sudden,
it was still limited, but like there were exceptions that were never made before.
And then all of a sudden, you cut that number back down to 85.
Right.
And so you have freshmen coming in that wouldn't have a spot unless you had a spot.
Yeah.
And you had, what did you expect to happen when you gave an entire group of people an additional year? And then all of college, you gave them everyone an additional year. What did you expect to happen? Of course you were going to have people who couldn't find a home. This is on the NCAA as much as anybody. But I don't know what the answer is.
Right. That's the problem. Like, it's probably on the NCAA, but like, what's the answer? Like,
you don't want to say like, well, you went to school during this time frame, and so sorry about you. See ya. I don't know what the answer is.
But we knew this was going to be a byproduct, right? We talked about this when they said everybody's going to get a free COVID year that first year, and the guys that were super seniors weren't going to impact the scholarship numbers.
And we said this is all wrapped up, 2025, when there's no one left from the roughly. So I wonder if we see things start to even out at that point, or if this is going to somehow continue to be a trend.
Well, no, it's always going to be a trend because there's always going to be this.
But is it still going to be 40%? Is my question, because
it's going to be high. It's going to be
it
high.
Shouldn't be 40.
It's going to be high. It's going to be over 30. I'll promise you that. It's going to be over 30.
To your point you made a couple minutes ago, though, I think you'll see more people doing the. You gave me this,
good. Right? I'm good.
You gave me this scholarship. This is your problem right here. This, me, your problem, not my problem. I'm here. Good.
I'm going to keep working with my boys and trying to improve my lot in life, right? Like, you recruited me to come here and compete. I'm trying to be Tony Pike. 4.5 years later, I'm a starter. Like, that's what I'm trying to do.
Single me out. I'm going to complain to the AD.
Right? Come get you some. Player empowerment, as it were.
The whole topic's fascinating, and I think it's going to continue to develop as I think people are going to they're going to consume this feverishly.
Right now, we're like what we're seeing is so like when kids are little, you used to give them a little tap on the rear end, and it didn't hurt them, and it wasn't like a spanking, but it was like it scared them because they were like 2 years old, 3 years old. And then you do that one time and you give them a little tap and they look at you and they're getting some attitude and they go, that don't hurt. And you go, oh, can't do that anymore. Right?
Or when you get to be like 13 or something and you're like, you're
ready, like you think you're ready to challenge the big dog, right? You're ready to come get some?
You can't make me go to my room.
I can. The cops might end up being here after I'm done, but I can make you go to your room. Right. Yeah. Like that's where this is all headed.
Yeah.
I'm as equally fascinated from it as you are, because it's something I've like thought a lot about as we've gotten into this world of the portal. Everybody wants to be in the portal, right?
Yeah. Better your grass is greener. I can figure it out somewhere else. I don't like my coach. I don't like my situation. I got this.
As a guy with his first yard.
Yeah.
Now you got a yard for the first time in your life.
I do.
Sometimes the grass is brown. Like sometimes you got to fix the grass. Sometimes the grass is not green. Sometimes the grass is dirt. Right? Sometimes the grass is weeds. I cut a little section where this is the first like spring in the new house that we're renting. I cut there's a little section of my front yard today. I cut it yesterday. And there's already like the little white things. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
It grew like 18 inches between 6 o'clock yesterday and when we got back from the oncologist tonight for dinner. Did you catch it, Mr. Miyagi?
I did, and then I didn't actually squash it all the way. It flew away over here. Yeah.
You just tossed it.
It's fine.
But like, yeah, like the way that this is all playing out, and the top of the food chain is eating itself alive because guys are just going from here to here to here to here. It's not Alabama. Like everybody was like, oh, well, it's like the mid-May, like, you know, the small schools. Alabama's just going to take the best player from the small schools. No, Alabama's taking the best players from the big schools.
Chad, during the show tonight, you brought up Juwan Howard and Michigan getting involved. Michigan has an incoming freshman.
Isaiah Collier, point guard.
Right.
Yeah.
Michigan has an incoming freshman right now this year, because I was looking up their starting, you know, their projected starting five for next season. And he was like the number 64 kid in the country. He's short, but has crazy speed, apparently. He's like 5'10". I don't recall his name as I was looking this up. But my point is, they're already going after another point guard. Like they have a sophomore and a freshman, and they're like, you know what? Nah, we're Michigan. We should have apparently all top 10 guys.
Well, look, Isaiah Collier is one of those dudes you watch once and you go, I need one of those.
My point, though, is to your point, where if you're Alabama, if you're Michigan, if you're these tops, you recycle them out. Keep going until one clicks and let the rest trickle down.
Like the argument was that Alabama was going to take from like the lower levels of college football. They just got a really, really high-end wide receiver from Louisville. Jamison Williams is at Alabama because he couldn't get on the field at Ohio State because he was blocked by a couple really good guys that were ahead of him. Like, Alabama is not like invading Miami of Ohio for players. That's not what's happening. They're not picking off.
There will be an exception here and there when maybe something like that happens. I don't think you're going to see like a Ben Roethlisberger come out of Miami of Ohio again. Not after 4 years.
Maybe. I mean, maybe Ben was just having a good time in Miami in bathrooms, locking the door.
He was definitely doing that up there.
But like the rich are getting richer because they're starting to feast off of the rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an interesting world. And the poor are staying poor because the kids that are in the portal probably aren't good enough to help them. So they're just passing.
It's like a reflection on real life. That's so weird.
Sure. The transfer portal has opened a window into society. Speaking of the transfer portal.
Oh, man, that would have been would have been such a good one.
Yeah. Well, we're about ready. You probably could have. Speaking of the transfer portal, Landers Nolley's official visit has ended. The Memphis transfer is now contemplating what's next. I think the next 24 to 48 hours will be critical in this one. If Cincinnati can get it done, it'll probably happen fast. If it doesn't happen in the next 24 to 48 hours, then I think you can start trying to figure out what might be next in the recruitment of Landers Nolley. So that's where we're at. 6 days from the commitment of Rayvon Griffith. We got a lot to talk about on the nightcap this week, boys and girls. He's Aaron Smith. I'm Chad Brendel. Galactic Fried Chicken is the sponsor. Bearcat Journal is the home. We'll see you next time.
See ya.